This video contains spoilers. I highly recommend playing this game first before you watch the video, so yeah, you've been warned. Hello guys, the Kozmic here, and yes, I'm back. And during the good times of 2012, I was going through YouTube and I see this trailer of a game called SPEC OPS THE LINE. And at the time, to me, it looked like any generic army tactical shooter, kind of like SOCOM for example. I did see videos of this game and a lot of people liked the story due to it being very dark and making the player feel terrible for the decisions that they made. But I never really got the time to actually sit down and play the game. So the game just passed me by until 2021, where the game was selling for $5 on Steam. Thank you, Steam sales. And since I got all this free time, I finally sat down and played this game, and man, I was missing a lot.
Help. There were over 5,000 people alive in Dubai the day before you arrived. How many are alive today, I wonder? How many will be alive tomorrow? I thought my duty was to protect this city from the storm. I was wrong. I have to protect it from you.
After playing SPEC OPS THE LINE, I realized this isn't your generic third-person shooter. It might look like one, it might play like one, but trust me, it doesn't feel or present itself like one. And what really drives this point home is the story, the setting, Dubai, which is pretty much on its last leg due to sandstorms, and the situations that the game puts you in. Now before we get into the story, we should talk about some of the gameplay elements. Like I said before, this is a third-person card-based shooter. You run, you shoot, you run, and you shoot. There are squad commands which you can use to send your men to kill a certain target or pick up a man who is down. There are also scripted events that contribute to the gameplay, like sand and how you can shoot windows that have sand in them to bury enemies. And that's all there really is when it comes to gameplay for SPEC OPS THE LINE. But the story is what carries this game, and it's time to dive into it. The story of SPEC OPS THE LINE is a wild one for sure. It starts off with a bang as we are put in this turret section as we shoot down helicopters chasing after us. We drive into a sandstorm as a helicopter rams into a railing, and then all of a sudden a helicopter loses control and rams into us. We then get our first look at John Conrad, who is the leader of the 33rd Infantry, who was supposed to leave Afghanistan but decided to help in the evacuation of Dubai due to all the sandstorms. But when the 33rd ordered to leave the city, Conrad decided to stay in Dubai, disobeying orders. He then tried to lead a caravan out of the city, but due to the storm wall that the sandstorms caused, the evacuation was a complete failure, costing the lives of 1,300 people. After 5 months since that evacuation, he broadcasted a distress signal, and 2 weeks before the game starts, the US receives that distress signal through the storm wall.
This is Colonel John Conrad, United States Army. Evacuation of Dubai ended in complete failure. Death toll, too many.
We then get our first look at Delta Force as they arrive in Dubai. We have Captain Martin Walker, who we play as, Staff Sergeant John Lugo, and First Lieutenant Alfonso Adams. Their mission is to look for any survivors inside the storm wall and then radio for evac. But shit hits the fan almost immediately when insurgents who are at war with what's left of the 33rd mistake them for 33rd members and begin shooting at them. They deal with them and then find some survivors, but they all die of their wounds afterwards. Apparently, the insurgents have captured some 33rd members and taken them to a place called the Nest. Walker and company then decide to head there to find some answers. When they make it to the Nest, they are introduced to the Radio Man, also known as Robert Darwin, a former journalist now acting as a spokesperson for the 33rd. He starts to play music in the Nest and spout propaganda about the 33rd, and the trio is just as confused as I was.
Here we go.
Let me go on record and say this shit just got weird.
Fuck weird. This is out of control.
As Delta journeys through the Nest, they fall into a hotel and barely make it out alive. They then overhear a surgeon that is speaking English, which confuses the team and leaves them with more questions than answers. They trail into an insurgent's hideout, and they find him interrogating a 33rd soldier named McPherson. McPherson was one of the 33rd members they took from the Nest earlier. McPherson then gets the better of him and shoots the insurgent. McPherson claims that he was actually working for the CIA, and we are presented with our first choice. We could shoot McPherson or not. For my first playthrough, I decided not to shoot him. McPherson then decides to go get his superiors and leaves. They check the body and they confirm that he is CIA. The CIA were brought in to look for survivors like Delta, and they have been helping the insurgents to fight back the 33rd for some time now. When Delta goes to find McPherson, the 33rd, who believe that Delta are CIA, begins attacking them. Delta then tries to reason with them, but with no choice, they found the same people that they were trying to save. The 33rd have completely gone rogue at this point and start to commit atrocities to the civilians of Dubai. Walker believes Conrad has nothing to do with this though, due to the fact that Conrad saved his life a long time ago when he was under his command, and dude, just trust me.
Soldiers? Rogue soldiers. It's clear the 33rd is no longer acting as part of the US Army.
So what do we do?
Well, if we're gonna sort this out, we need to find John Conrad.
How's that help? You just said the 33rd were rogue.
Conrad wouldn't abandon his duty. The 33rd may be hostile, but I guarantee the Colonel isn't part of it.
How can you be sure?
Because I know the man.
But the 33rd have rounded up civilians in the nest and were looking like they were going to start executing them. Delta fights them off and kills majority of the 33rd, but some of them end up escaping with some civilians. Delta then decides to leave the nest and look for Conrad.
We should get out of here. Leave these people to grieve.
Yeah, I think that's the least we can do. Come on.
As Delta continues through Dubai, Walker starts to piece together what happened. The 33rd went to war with each other, forming two groups, the Damned and the Exiled. By the way, these are factions in multiplayer, which I'm not going to talk about in this video because it's kind of bland, which I guess makes multiplayer canon to the story. The Exiled staged a rebellion against Conrad's rule over Dubai, but unfortunately for them, they lost the war, and the Damned continued to rule over Dubai with an iron fist. Walker then decides to contact the CIA in hopes of reaching Conrad. As they move forward, they get a transmission of an interrogation from another CIA member named Daniels.
What is your name and designation?
Agent Daniel, CIA.
Good. Why did you and your men come to Dubai and attend?
We're looking for survivors.
Okay. Looks like he's telling the truth. We can begin.
That's enough, Lugo.
Yes, sir.
Can you trace the signal's origin?
I already did. It's coming from over there.
Delta, who thinks the 33rd have him captured, decides to follow the signal. After going through buildings and taking a nasty spill and going through tons of 33rd, Walker and company find Daniels, but he's already dead. It turns out it was a trap set up by the radio man for another CIA agent named GOULD. The radio man and Walker have a chat, and the radio man decides it's just better to kill Delta right then and there, thinking that they are a threat. Just as that's about to happen, GOULD and a few other insurgents ambush the 33rd and help Delta escape. But unfortunately for GOULD, just as Delta escapes the building, he and a few other civilians are captured. Delta finds where he is, and he is interrogated by 33rd members about another CIA member's whereabouts, named Riggs. And I swear one of them sounds like rated for Mortal Kombat.
Tell me where he is. Fair enough. Next.
We then make our second choice of the game. We can either save GOULD from his kidnappers or save civilians who are about to be executed. For my playthrough, I went to save civilians, but GOULD dies as a result. But Delta finds plans on his person, so it seems like he was going to storm a place called the Gate, which is a 33rd base. So Delta decides to head there. At this point, Lugo is extremely upset over the fact that Walker and Adams did not decide to help GOULD when they did. Adams tries to tell him that having faith in GOULD's plan wasn't really going to get them anywhere, and things get really heated between the two, and Walker has had enough of it.
Watching these people die, huh? You think I won't carry this shit to my fucking grave? Stand down! Both of you! Stand the fuck down!
The fuck is wrong with you two? We're in the middle of a fucking war zone, and you're fighting in the dirt like a couple of goddamn kids! You are Delta operators. Fucking act like it!
They then head to the Gate, where things make a drastic turn for the worst. So far up to this point, the game has been, at least to me, very calm. We have seen rogue soldiers before in video games, and I'm pretty sure everyone has played / seen No Russian. But this is where the game becomes eye-opening for the first time, and really starts to dive into its themes. Delta makes it to the game and come across a lot of 33rd soldiers, and are pretty much outnumbered. They then see a mortar carrying white phosphorus. Delta also came across white phosphorus earlier when they were trying to save GOULD, as the 33rd were using it on insurgents. Walker and Adams decide to use it, but Lugo is very hesitant with the plan, but Walker and Adams tell him that there's really no choice. They use the mortar and pretty much levels the base pretty hard, wiping out everything that's there. What's really cool is that you can see Walker's face as he's doing this, and his face just has this very stone cold expression to it. After leveling the base with white phosphorus, Delta goes and checks out the carnage. They come up to a near-dead soldier who says that they were trying to help, and Delta then realizes the damage they have done.
Are those civilians?
Delta's action caused 47 innocent people to get killed. Lugo is extremely upset with Walker as Adams tries to calm him down, and Walker is just completely out of it. You can see in his face. Instead of taking responsibility for what he just did, he decides to blame all of it on the 33rd and says that they're going to pay for what they did and tells them to keep moving. This is the point where I started to feel conflicted with Walker, because as a main character, it's really hard to get behind him. Mainly for the fact, past this point, Walker starts to make choices that makes the situation to buy worse than it already is, and we'll get to them later. But Walker tends to hold this ideology of heroism, thinking that all his actions are justified, and he thinks no matter what he does, he's always going to be the good guy at the end of the day. But unfortunately, this is Dubai. And there are no heroes in this story, just people who kill other people, or people who try to fix a situation but just makes things worse. And as we go along here, this theme of heroism becomes very apparent. After clearing out the rest of the 33rd and the gate, they come across Conrad's command team, who were the leaders of the exiled, but Conrad had them burned alive with white phosphorus. Walker then hears a nearby walkie-talkie, and on the other side is Conrad.
But if order was to be maintained, an example had to be made.
Colonel, I'm Captain Walker.
Captain Walker. Yes, I remember you. Kabul, I think it was. You performed admirably under the circumstances.
Colonel,
I don't
please.
know if I told you that.
What's going on here?
Survival, Captain. Plain and simple.
Walker then blames all of this on Conrad and then decides to keep moving. Delta then comes across two men hanging up with snipers pointing at them. One of them is a civilian who stole water, which is a capital offense for some reason, and another one is a soldier who was supposed to capture the civilian but ends up killing its entire family instead. I don't even know how that even came about. We are then presented with our third choice of the game. We can either free the soldier or the civilian. I decided to go with the civilian, but unfortunately this doesn't end well for both of them since they are both killed, and Delta has to fight through 33rd. A sandstorm hits, and Delta ends up taking shelter in a nearby container. Walker then vows this to Conrad.
I know you're listening, Colonel, so hear this. This war is over. Dubai will be evacuated, and you will be relieved of your command.
After the sandstorm, Walker decides to head to the largest tower in Dubai since he thinks Conrad is there. Adams then questions Walker about his mental state, and Walker says that he was fine, and Delta continues forward. They then hear firefighting near them, and Riggs, who was the CIA agent that GOULD told the 33rd about, sends a distress signal asking for help. Delta then helps Riggs and company and clears out the 33rd. And Riggs and Delta introduce themselves. Delta doesn't seem to trust Riggs or his motives, but since he is not shooting at them, they play along. Riggs has a plan of stealing water from the main water facility, which is the Aquatic Coliseum. He thinks by taking the water it will cripple the 33rd. Delta then agrees to do the op, but they are ambushed by Zulu team, which is the high end of the 33rd command team. Delta clears out majority of the 33rd in the area and storms the Coliseum, stealing 45,000 gallons of water. But the 33rd are not letting him off that easy, and since they have them cornered, Riggs, who is driving one of the trucks, crashes into a building. When Walker wakes up, he sees Conrad, who scolds Walker, saying that in 4 days the city will be dying of thirst and it's all his fault. Once again, another action Walker has done and seemed to have no remorse. The radio man and the civilians just let Delta and company have it at this point, and the civilians really don't like Delta.
Your water is gone. And now you violate martial law.
Barely alive.
Your orders stay where they are.
I'm talking to
Water has been dispensed all along the way. Everything's gonna be fine.
Walker then finds Riggs, but he's incapacitated. Riggs explains that he did this to avoid witnesses, since if people figured out what Conrad has done, the whole region of Afghanistan would have declared war on the US, and he predicts that they would have lost. Riggs then tries to justify his actions, and hell, even says that GOULD didn't like the idea either. We then are presented with our fourth choice in the game. We can shoot Riggs or let him burn. For my playthrough, I end up shooting him, but honestly, it doesn't matter since he just caused more problems than solutions. Walker then makes contact with Delta, who are apparently holding up in some mall, but the 33rd starts to close in on their position, and the radio man is just really hitting Delta with a shit ton of one-liners and just rubbing in the mistakes that they committed.
Oh, what you gonna do? Oh, what you gonna do? Yeah, are they gonna die when they come for you? Hot and water and buckets and things like tools. Oh, what you gonna do when they come for you?
Don't listen to him!
Walker saves Lugo and Adams just in time, and they fight through a shit ton of 33rd, and I'm not joking, this level was long as fuck for whatever reason. Once Delta regroups and clears out the 33rd in the mall, they find a staff sergeant named John Forbes. Forbes tells Delta where the radio man is broadcasting from. Walker then comes up with a plan to use that broadcast station to send a message to the civilians of Dubai to leave the city at once. Delta then goes from rooftop to rooftop, finding 33rd along the way. As they get near the broadcast station, Walker has a weird mental moment.
Doing? Adams, you can't do this, man. Damn it, Walker! No! Jesus. What the fuck did you do, Walker?
You caught me off guard.
They make it to the broadcast station and finally confront the radio man, who just gives up almost immediately. He then tells them how to use the broadcast station, and Lugo just out of nowhere shoots him, which pisses off Adams. Walker then sends his message to the people in Dubai, but Conrad tells him that he's wasting his time and he's not learning from the mistakes that he made, and he will have to protect Dubai from him. Zulu team then attacks Delta from a helicopter, and Zulu swarms the building. Delta then holds off Zulu and steals the helicopter from them. Walker, who wants to send a message to Conrad, decides to destroy the entire radio tower, killing everything that's there. As Delta was about to leave the area, a bunch of helicopters start attacking them. They start to shoot down some of these helicopters. They head into a sandstorm, and a helicopter crashes into a railing. One of the helicopters loses control and crashes into Delta, and now we have finally come full circle.
Brace for impact!
Captain Walker, can you hear me?
Colonel?
Open your eyes, Walker. I need you to see what you've done. Dubai should have died long ago. We were ordered to abandon these people. Instead, we chose damnation. Not all of us.
What? Who's there?
One of your victims. One who was just following orders.
You gave us no choice.
There was always a choice. You just fucked it up.
We tried to save you.
Deep down, you knew we all had to die.
This wasn't my fault.
Captain,
Lugo.
help.
There were over 5,000 people alive in Dubai the day before you arrived. How many are alive today, I wonder? How many will be alive tomorrow? I thought my duty was to protect this city from the storm. I was wrong. I have to protect it from you.
Walker.
Are you there?
Walker wakes up from the crash and gets a transmission from Adams. Adams asks where Walker is, to which Walker says he doesn't know. Walker then asks where Lugo is, and Adams says that he went dark after the crash. Walker then finds Adams pinned down by 33rd soldiers and he rescues him. Lugo then contacts them, saying that he broke his arm and is surrounded by 33rd members. He then tells them that he decided to hide in a nearby refugee camp. As they head there, Walker and Adams start to butt heads, and you can really see the dissension within Delta.
It's a fucking broken arm. We both lived through worse.
You know damn well it's not what I'm talking about.
If there's something on your mind, why don't you say it already so we can get back to work?
This whole mission is fucked. We just took out a tower full of American troops.
They didn't leave us any choice.
You didn't leave us any choice. What the fuck happened to us, man?
Nothing. We're fucking soldiers.
Oh, I see. My mistake.
Unfortunately, by the time they get to Lugo, the locals there hang him. They shoot down the rope, but Lugo dies of his injuries. The crowd then surrounds Walker and Adams asks Walker if they can shoot the civilians. A complete 180 from Adams here. We then are presented with our fifth choice in the game. We could shoot the civilians or scare them off. For my playthrough, I shot the civilians. Wait, what? Walker then radios Conrad and vows to kill him and the rest of the 33rd to avenge Lugo's death.
Colonel, here's what happens now. I'm gonna kill every last one of your men, and then I'm gonna kill you. Sergeant Lugo is dead. For that, I will give no quarter. You brought this on yourself.
Walker and Adams finally make it to Conrad's base, which is that big tower Walker mentioned earlier. Adams at this point has completely changed, and you can see it through his expressions, and just by the way he talks to Walker. And he says that this is all on Walker, not him.
Don't tell me what I already know. Lugo's blood is on your hands, not mine. Bang.
Walker and Adams then storms the base, and as this is all going on, Walker starts to have these weird visions. He first sees Dubai in this hellish state as he's getting chased by people on fire, and then he sees Lugo again, who was just killed moments earlier, and he begins attacking Delta.
Don't you get it? It's all a lie!
No!
You're no fucking hero!
I tried to save you!
The only villain here is you.
Eyes on that hostile.
It's only you.
As they get closer to the tower, Adams and Walker are completely surrounded. Conrad then tells them to surrender or he will kill them. Walker surrenders, but Adams does not have any of it, claiming that they failed their mission. Adams then throws Walker off the building and tells him to run, as Adams supposedly is blown to shreds in the last stand. As Walker runs for it, he is knocked out by the blast. Walker comes to, and he finally makes it to the tower and sees what remains of the 33rd, and they decided to surrender to Walker, telling him that Conrad's waiting for him. Walker then takes the elevator, and we finally get our climax of the story.
Well done, Walker. You've done what the storm could not. Destroyed the damn 33rd. Do you feel like a hero yet?
This is easily the best cutscene in the game because it sums up the themes of the game perfectly. This idea of heroism that Walker treads upon, feeling like he has done nothing wrong and feels like he is the hero in this story, but like I said earlier, there are no heroes in Dubai, just people who kill other people and people who just make things worse, and Walker fits these descriptions. I mean, he literally killed 47 innocent civilians, doomed Dubai essentially with the water incident, opened fire on innocent civilians, and got all his comrades killed, so yeah, Walker is the bad guy in this situation, no questions asked. What Conrad said though just really hit me hard. It was like he was talking to the player and not Walker, and there are times where the game just breaks the fourth wall like that. It really makes you wonder all the shit you did throughout the game. And you really start to wonder, was this shit even worth it in the first place? Walker then finally gets his confrontation with Conrad, who appears to be paying the white phosphorus event that happened earlier.
How hard I tried, I never could escape the reality of what happened here. That was my downfall. There, finished. I hope you like it.
What the hell is going on?
Your eyes are opening for the first time. It hurts, doesn't it? Go on. What do you think?
You did this.
No, you did. Your orders killed 47 innocent people. Someone has to pay for your crimes, Walker. Who's it going to be?
Walker then walks over to a dead body sitting in a wheelchair, and turns out it is Conrad, who's been dead this entire time. What's cool about this is, as I was editing this, they foreshadowed this event right before you beat him.
Is yours.
Where is Conrad?
Where he's always been. Upstairs, waiting for you.
Conrad then appears behind Walker, scolding him for all the atrocities he has done, saying that he was never meant to come here since it was never Delta's mission in the first place, and after the white phosphorus event, created a narrative that Conrad did all of this. The walkie-talkie he got was broken. The two hanging men were just dead bodies, and the fight with Lugo never even happened. Conrad then tells them that they can't keep living this life forever, and we are presented with our choice. We can shoot Conrad, or...
Is this really what you want, Walker?
shoot ourselves.
United States Army. Evacuation of Dubai ended in complete failure. Death toll, too many.
If we decide to shoot Conrad,
it takes a strong man to deny what's in front of it.
Stronger than you were.
Whatever you say, Walker. No matter what happens next, don't be too hard on yourself. Even now, for all you've done, you can still go home. Lucky you.
Walker then looks over the destroyed city that is Dubai.
What now, sir?
Huh?
The men are asking. What do we do now?
We complete our mission.
And what mission would that be, sir?
Just get me a goddamn radio.
Walker then requested to be evacuated from the city.
This is Captain Martin Walker, requesting immediate evacuation of Dubai. Survivors. One too many.
We then come to the epilogue of the game, which has the American soldiers reaching Walker, and Walker is completely shocked from the entire experience. One of the soldiers then asks him to lay down his weapon. We then make our final choice in this game. We could shoot the soldiers, and depending on the outcome of the fight, Walker will either win the gunfight, becoming the version of Conrad that he always envisioned for himself.
Do you copy? We heard shots. Is everything okay? Sergeant Roberts,
What is going on?
Gentlemen, welcome to Dubai.
Or lose the fight, and as he slowly dies, we hear a conversation between him and Conrad.
Remember back in Kabul, John? Before things got bad? We were talking. About nothing, really. I said something about going home, and you said...
Home? We can't go home. There is a line men like us have to cross. If we're lucky, we do what's necessary and then we die. No, all I really want, Captain, is peace.
If Walker surrenders his gun, Walker and the American troops leave Dubai. But one American soldier asks him a question.
We drove through this whole city to find you. We saw things. You don't mind me asking, what was it like? How'd you survive all this?
Who said I did?
And that concludes Spec Ops The Line. So, what happened? Why was there a fake Conrad? And what does this mean to the story? Well, there are two theories in my opinion. First one is that Walker could have been suffering from PTSD after the White Phosphorus event, which led to the events of Walker making up this narrative that Conrad did all these things, when in reality it was all Walker. I mean, hell, throughout the game, Walker undergoes a huge personality jump. He becomes more aggressive, more violent, and starts seeing things from time to time, and makes huge drastic decisions as he goes along without understanding the consequences of his actions. So it could possibly be that Walker was just suffering from PTSD, and since he didn't want to suffer the repercussions of his actions, he just passed it all on to Conrad. Now, as for the second theory, what if I were to tell you that everything past that first helicopter crash from the beginning never even happened? According to Walt Williams, who is the head writer of Spec Ops The Line, he thinks that Delta died in the crash, and this whole game is just Walker's personal hell, or some sort of purgatory. And there are a lot of things that goes along with this, like for example, when we do the second helicopter scene, Walker says this.
Isn't right! Well, it's too late now! No, I mean, we did this already! What do you mean? Ah, fuck it! It's nothing! Just shake these fucking guys!
It also can explain the hellish imagery that we see throughout the game.
Welcome to hell, Walker. We've been waiting for you.
Also, after that second helicopter crash, if you were to die past that point, you get these weird cutscenes, and then it fades to white, and Walker looks like he was just imagining the whole scenario. One thing that also ties to this theory, according to Walt Williams, is how the cutscenes transition. If the transitions fade to black, that means it was just a normal transition. But if the transitions fade to white, it could mean that Walker is hallucinating the event, or the event might not even have took place. For example, in the epilogue, if Walker leaves with the troops, it fades to white, which could mean that Walker is just imagining this. And it also could mean that Walker will have to relive this experience again until he finally accepts who he has become, or to kill himself to escape this purgatory that he's in, finally accepting the actions he has committed. And it kind of reminds me of a Silent Hill plot in a way. Like, this game tends to be called Silent Hill Dubai, and I don't think anyone would have batted an eye. Overall, Spec Ops The Line was an experience. It truly blew me away with its story. Now, Yeager stated that there will not be a sequel for this game, which, hell, I don't even know where you even start with that, but it would be cool to see a remake, or maybe some sort of movie, but hell, just as long as people are talking about this game, I think this game will never die, honestly. This has been The Kozmic Man. Let me know your guys' experience with Spec Ops The Line, and did it make you feel like a hero or not? Stay classy,